Your child asks the same question 5 times in 10 minutes. Are you sure it's safe? What if something bad happens? Can you stay with me? And you're doing everything you can think of to help, reassuring them, checking in constantly, keeping them close. But what if some of the things that feel like good parenting are actually teaching your child's brain that the world is too dangerous to face alone? Today, we're looking at the specific, well-researched link between certain parenting patterns and childhood anxiety. Not to make you feel guilty, but so you can recognize it early enough to change course. And I'll walk you through the actual signs researchers use to spot it, so you can check your own home by the end of this video. Hey, I'm Maya. Anxiety in kids has increased significantly over the last 2 decades. And while genetics and temperament absolutely play a role, they're not the whole story. Some of the most respected anxiety researchers, including Dr. Ilya Lebovitz at Yale, have spent years studying something called family accommodation. The small, loving things parents do to reduce a child's distress in the moment, which can accidentally reinforce anxiety long-term. This isn't about bad parents. It's often the most attentive, caring parents who fall into these patterns, because they're the ones most tuned in to their child's discomfort. But being tuned in and accommodating fear are 2 different things. Let's break down exactly where that line gets crossed. The overprotection paradox. Here's pattern number 1. Overprotection. When a parent consistently steps in to prevent a child from facing anything uncomfortable, a hard conversation, a tricky physical challenge, a disappointing outcome, the intention is safety. But the message the child's brain receives is different. It's, I don't think you can handle this. Children build a sense of capability through actual exposure to manageable difficulty. It's called self-efficacy, and it only develops through first-hand experience of struggling with something and getting through it. When a parent runs interference every time, the child never gets the data point that says, I survived that. Instead, they get a different one. Someone had to save me. Over time, this teaches a child's nervous system that the world is more dangerous than it actually is, not through anything a parent says, but through everything a parent does. Emotional overinvolvement. Pattern number 2. Emotional overinvolvement, sometimes called enmeshment. This is when a parent's own anxiety becomes the emotional weather system of the household. If a parent visibly panics over minor risks, checks in obsessively, or narrates worst-case scenarios out loud, be careful, you could fall. What if you get lost? I'm so worried about this. Children absorb that as data. Kids are constantly scanning a caregiver's face and tone for cues about whether a situation is safe. Researchers call this social referencing. If your face says danger about things that aren't actually dangerous, your child's nervous system calibrates to match. This is one of the most well-documented pathways for anxiety transmission, not genetic anxiety, but observed and absorbed anxiety. Accommodation of avoidance. Pattern number 3, and this is the one Dr. Lebovitz's research really zeroed in on: accommodation. This is when a parent changes their own behavior to prevent or reduce a child's anxiety in the moment. Answering for them so they don't have to talk to the cashier. Sleeping in their room every night so they don't have to face the dark alone. Letting them skip the birthday party because they were nervous. Each of these feels like compassion in the moment, and it is compassionate. But research on family accommodation shows a consistent pattern. The more parents accommodate a child's avoidance, the more entrenched that avoidance becomes over time. Anxiety runs on avoidance. Every time avoidance is accommodated, the brain gets a small confirmation that the feared thing really was too much to handle, which makes the next exposure feel even scarier, not less. Here's how to know. 5 signs to check. So here's how to actually know if this is happening in your home. 5 signs researchers look for. Sign 1. Your child asks for repeated reassurance about the same worry, and reassurance only works for a few minutes before they ask again. Sign 2. You find yourself changing plans, routines, or your own behavior specifically to prevent your child's distress, more than once or twice a week. Sign 3. Your child avoids age-appropriate independence, ordering their own food, walking into a room alone, sleeping without a parent nearby, well past the age when peers typically do these things. Sign 4. You notice your own anxiety spikes before your child's does. You're anticipating problems before they've even happened. And sign 5. When your child does face something hard without you stepping in, they're often fine, sometimes even proud, but you find yourself more anxious about it than they were. That last one is subtle, but it's one of the clearest signals that the anxiety loop is coming from the parent-child dynamic, not just the child. What actually works instead, so what actually helps? The research here is genuinely encouraging. This is very changeable. First, validate the feeling without removing the challenge. I can see this feels scary, and I think you can do it. Does more than either dismissing the fear or solving it for them. Second, narrate calm, not danger. Your face and tone are doing a lot of the teaching, whether you mean them to or not. Third, reduce accommodations slowly and predictably, not by suddenly refusing to help, but by giving your child a heads up. Starting this week, I'm going to let you order for yourself. Predictability matters more than speed here. And fourth, let your child see you handle your own hard moments without falling apart. Kids don't need a parent who's never anxious. They need to see an anxious moment get handled, which teaches them that anxiety is survivable, not catastrophic. If any of these 5 signs sounded familiar, subscribe. Next week, I'm walking through exactly what to say in the moment when your child is avoiding something out of fear, word for word. Let's recap. Overprotection can teach a child's brain the world is more dangerous than it is. Emotional overinvolvement transmits anxiety through tone and facial cues, not words. Accommodation, even loving accommodation, can quietly reinforce avoidance. And the 5 signs to watch for: repeated reassurance seeking that doesn't stick, frequent changes to your own behavior to prevent distress, avoided independence past the typical age, your anxiety arriving before theirs, and feeling more anxious about a challenge than your child actually was. None of this means you caused your child's anxiety on purpose. It means there's a concrete, research-backed place to start. If you recognized even one of these patterns, that's not a failure. It's information you can actually use. Comment which sign hit closest to home. I read every single one. Subscribe for next week's video on exactly what to say in anxious moments. See you in the next one.